Tonight, we delve into a history etched in blood and betrayal, a saga of conflict that refuses to fade from our national consciousness. भारत और पाकिस्तान की हिस्ट्री 1947 में भारत के विभाजन के साथ शुरू होती है, जिसके बाद पाकिस्तान एक अलग राष्ट्र के रूप में अस्तित्व में आया. But I ask you, did this division, born out of colonial machinations and communal politics, truly bring peace? No. It sowed the seeds of perpetual animosity, a bitter harvest that generations have been forced to reap. The nation wants to know, why has this wound been allowed to fester for so long? Why must our brave soldiers constantly stand guard against a neighbor consumed by hostility? The very epicenter of this decades-long struggle, the bleeding heart of this conflict, is Kashmir. दोनों देशों के बीच कई संघर्ष हुए, जिनमें से मुख्य रूप से कश्मीर विवाद है. A land of unparalleled beauty, a jewel in India's crown, turned into a relentless battleground by Pakistan's insatiable and illegal ambitions. Why, I ask you tonight, why has diplomacy repeatedly extended by India been met with deceit and aggression? Is it a mere lack of will on Pakistan's part, or is it a deliberate, sinister strategy to keep the region destabilized, to bleed India with 1,000 cuts? We will unmask the truth tonight, viewers, layer by painful layer, fact by undeniable fact. This isn't just a historical recounting for an academic exercise, viewers. This is about our present, our security, and it fundamentally defines our future. Understanding this conflict, its roots, its manifestations, is not optional. It is a fundamental duty for every citizen who believes in the sovereignty and integrity of India. We, here at Study, will not shy away from asking the hardest questions. We will not be silenced by the apologists or the terror sympathizers. Join me as we dissect the tumultuous story of the India-Pakistan conflict from the fateful year of 1947 to this very day. The facts, I assure you, will speak louder than any propaganda. The ink on the partition documents was barely dry. Viewers, the wounds of division still raw, when the first war was thrust upon a newly independent India, 1947 to 1948. It began with the so-called tribal invasion of Kashmir, a blatant, undeniable act of aggression meticulously orchestrated and backed by the nascent state of Pakistan. Let's be absolutely clear on this, there are no two ways about it. They sought to annex Kashmir by brutal force, to trample upon the legitimate instrument of accession and the aspirations of its people. Maharaja Hari Singh, faced with this savage onslaught, turned to India for help. And India, true to its dharma and its responsibility, responded decisively. Our brave soldiers, many fighting for the first time under the Indian flag, fought with unparalleled courage, pushing back the invaders who were nothing but Pakistani army regulars in disguise. The nation tonight salutes their indomitable spirit and sacrifice. This wasn't merely a border skirmish, ladies and gentlemen. It was a full-blown war that tragically set the precedent for decades of deep-seated mistrust and relentless hostility from Pakistan. While India successfully secured the Kashmir Valley, Jammu and the strategic region of Ladakh, a significant portion of Kashmir remained, and shamefully still remains, under Pakistan's illegal and forcible occupation. What they audaciously call Azad Kashmir, and what we know as Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, or POJK. Why, the nation asks, was a complete and total victory not pressed home then? Why was this inherently domestic issue of Indian sovereignty allowed to be internationalized, giving external powers a pretext to meddle and muddy the waters? These are critical questions that still echo in the corridors of history, questions that demand unvarnished answers. The seeds of a protracted, painful conflict were sown right there, in the blood-soaked mountains and valleys of Kashmir. Fast forward to 1965. Did Pakistan learn its lesson from the debacle of 1947 to 48? Did it choose the path of peace and coexistence? Absolutely not. Once again, the aggressor Pakistan initiated conflict, launching the infamous Operation Gibraltar. Their audacious, almost delusional aim was to infiltrate thousands of armed irregulars into Kashmir, incite a mass insurgency, and seize the state by force. They gravely, fatally miscalculated the steely resolve of the Indian people and the formidable strength of our armed forces. They foolishly believed India was still reeling and weakened from the 1962 conflict with China. How catastrophically wrong they were. India didn't just defend. India responded with overwhelming might, crossing the international border and taking the fight deep into Pakistani territory. The world watched, stunned as our valiant forces reached the very outskirts of Lahore. The war raged for 17 intense days, a saga of incredible bravery written by our Jawans on the battlefields of Punjab and Kashmir. Tanks clashed, aircraft dueled, and the spirit of India soared. Yet this war, despite significant Indian battlefield gains, did not culminate in a decisive strategic victory that could have settled the Kashmir issue once and for all. Instead, it ended with a UN-mandated ceasefire and the subsequent Tashkent Declaration mediated by the Soviet Union. Why, I ask tonight, why were hard-won advantages on the battlefield often diluted, even surrendered at the negotiating table? Was the international pressure too immense for a young nation to bear? Or was there a persistent naivety in our strategic thinking, a misplaced, almost dangerous trust in our adversaries' intentions to abide by any agreements? The 1965 war, while unequivocally showcasing India's military superiority and its refusal to be cowed, left the Kashmir issue festering, unresolved, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode yet again. The nation wants to know why these repeated cycles of Pakistani aggression followed by uneasy, fragile truces. Then came the defining year of 1971, a watershed moment not just in the history of India and Pakistan, but in the geopolitical landscape of South Asia. This time, the conflict wasn't directly initiated over Kashmir, though Pakistan's obsession remained. No, the fuse was lit by the unimaginable arrogance and genocidal brutality of the Pakistani military regime, led by Yahya Khan in what was then East Pakistan. The systematic slaughter unleashed upon the Bengali population, the millions upon millions of terrified refugees pouring into India, seeking shelter from persecution. Could India, a beacon of democracy and human rights in the region, remain a mute spectator to such barbarity on its doorstep? No, absolutely not. The nation demands to know, how could the so-called civilized